Well, look who we have. This is great because LaChina and I go way back, and she's been a incredible supporter of 24 Hours Nothing But Net. She's been an incredible supporter of my family, and she loves Frankie. And she's probably going to tell us how much she loves Frankie, which is really cool, LaChina. Thanks for being with us, LaChina Robinson.
Thanks for having me, Devin. You're right. Frankie, I hate to say this in front of you, but he is my favorite member of the Antonelli family. And man, he's an awesome guy. And I'm glad I've gotten to watch him grow up. I mean, I met him at practice at Wake Forest when you were lugging all the boys around when I was a player.
I know. I remember. I think he organized Simon Says, and I think you were, from the players' standpoint, organizing the players to play along with him, which was really cool.
Absolutely. Fun times.
Well, he's grown up now, 26, living independently with support at Clemson. It is absolutely amazing. Frank and I and the boys, we shake our head every day. We cannot believe what we've experienced as a family. And sport has been the incredible unifier to bring it all together, as we know. What is it about Special Olympics that you enjoy the most, LaChina?
Yeah, I think it's just the reminder that even though we're all different, we all deserve access to whatever it is that makes our hearts flutter, right? In this case, we're talking about sport. And Debbie, you know that sport is the great connector. It brings people together from all kinds of backgrounds, from different places around the world. And I think that's what I love about the game the most. And what I love about the Special Olympics is it's just a reminder that there are so many unifiers in our world. And to me, sport is the greatest of those. And, to see Frankie have the opportunity, just like I did as a young person, to be active because we know how important activity is for young people, to meet friends, to learn all the great things that sports offer from goal setting to communication to confidence. I'm just glad that Frankie and so many others have that opportunity through the Special Olympics.
We've been able to use our platform to unify a lot of people around Special Olympics and get people to support, and whether it's giving money or just having some awareness about it, right? It definitely is helping the greater cause. You and I both love hoops. We use hoops as our platform. It's the foundation of pretty much, I know for me, of everything that we do and what we do in our careers. But you've also done some incredible things, which quite honestly makes me very proud to see you advance your career into other things around basketball. Tell us some of the things that you're doing right now. We know about the WNBA. You're a tremendous host. You're a good analyst. You do all those things well. What else are you doing that you enjoy the most about the game?
Well, Deb, thanks for asking. I think you can probably understand this a great deal is that sport may open the door, but it opens the door to so many other things and interests and passions sometimes that you didn't know you had. And one of those for me has been mentoring. And I have to give a shout out to you and so many of the other women who have served as a mentor for me and blazed the trail and been a pioneer. I have a nonprofit called Rising Media Stars where I help women of color get into sports broadcasting. I remember you used to have a seminar called So You Want to Be a Broadcaster, where you were really not just challenging people, right, in terms of their understanding of how hard this business is, but also just really opening the eyes to what it's like to be a broadcaster and to be a broadcaster of women's sports, which for many years, Deb, as you know, has been very different. Okay. I mean, you've had the luxury of being on both sides. And though we haven't always had the resources and things of that nature, it's been very rewarding. But mentoring is something I care a lot about. We are welcoming our fifth class of 5 women this year. We've had some great success like Andrea Carter and Zora Stevenson who have come through our program in past years. So enjoying the mentoring aspect of things, doing some media training, which is always fun. Doing some panel speaking. I love hosting panels and having conversations. I hosted one with Dawn Staley last week for the NCAA inclusion. That was awesome. So I'm finding a lot of ancillary opportunities around
Yeah.
sport to elevate women, to mentor, to tell the story of our game, and that's what I really love to do.
I love all those things that you mentioned because it's bringing everyone together. It is bringing different voices and opinions and keeping the conversation moving around women's sports. Now, I say right now, with the explosion of women's basketball, I say it's about damn time, right? I mean, Our product has always been good. We've always had great players. That has not changed. That has been the strongest common denominator about our game. But now we just have this influx of new eyes and new focus and new attention. I love it because I think it's going to raise the bar for everyone. I think all of us are going to get better. I think the game's going to continue to get better. And I think, like you said, the challenges and the scrutiny that's going to come with it is going to be good for us because it's going to be constant conversation about our game and the players around it. How do you feel about the explosion, or what would you pinpoint in your mind has been one of the biggest things that has allowed the game to just absolutely go off the ratings chart?
Man, Debbie, just like I do, and you've been in this much longer than I have, that we've just been in the trenches for a long time, hoping that this day would come. Just continuing to tell the stories and to love the game and to love the players and coaches that have built it. And so it's been a long time coming. It's about damn time. It's exactly right. There's been so many factors that you could point to in terms of how this perfect storm seemed to come about. You have to absolutely give a lot of credit to the product on the court, right? I was looking at some numbers yesterday, and I think our WNBA season 2023 was the highest rated since like 2006 or 2008. So that was already trending. But then you add to that the NCAA women's class that are rookies in the WNBA right now, headlined by Caitlin Clark, and the way they are playing the game fearlessly, the way they are unapologetically themselves off the court. Deb, what I love about this class is that they have given the credit to those that come before them, right? Yeah. Giving them their flowers. They acknowledge that, hey, we didn't just show up and open these doors. There have been people tugging on these doors for very long. So they have that aspect of them, but they're also just going to get out here and be who they are and be unapologetic and really stand in what they believe in. And they're going to talk trash on the court and do all the amazing things that they do. And one thing that I think has really helped to propel the women's game, quite honestly, has been NIL. Yeah. And I say that because with the signing of these brands to some of our top college players, they're able to take their messaging and take their images to national platforms, Deb, right? Like You're watching State Farm commercials and you're watching Beats commercials with college women's basketball players. And all of a sudden people are saying, well, who are these women? And by asking those questions and staying curious, you start to learn that, wow, women's basketball is a tremendous sport. So it definitely starts with the play on the court. It starts with these brands really putting their money where their mouth is, and the elevation of media coverage, right? Like we are seeing, even though incrementally, we are seeing more of a commitment from different networks and even from our own at ESPN, whether it's putting us on ABC or allowing for windows for our sport to really thrive. Media coverage is so important, and not just from sports networks. Look at Vogue magazine. Look at all these other non-sports platforms that are suddenly saying, we're invested in these women too, and not because we necessarily love their basketball, because they're awesome people. So, Deb, I know that's a long list of things. There's so many other things to pinpoint, but it's the perfect storm. It's the perfect storm.
Yeah, it's a confluence of many things coming together. And you said it so well, LaChina. I don't know how anybody couldn't get excited listening to you say that, because you hit it on the nail every time. I loved yesterday on our call for ESPN that one of the questions you asked was about media outside of the sports media. And I think it's such an important question. I think for me, like, even in this event right here, I want something outside the sports media. Like, I'm looking for, where's AARP magazine writing a story on Frankie and Special Olympics and what I'm doing in the driveway? Where's Working Mother? Like there's other things that, and we have, we have a lot of working mothers in the WNBA, and we have a lot of people that with incredible interest. And I watched Angel the other night, and I was like, good Lord. I thought at the beginning of last year, Angel was going to lead that team at LSU in assists. Well, I was wrong. But I'm throwing it back out there like, man, she looks good off the glass distributing the basketball. And that's what I thought she could do. She wants to be Candace Parker. That's what Candace Parker does, right? So yeah. I just think that when you break it down the way you did, I've called it Clarkonomics. Caitlin's the driver. But every time there's a mic in front of Caitlin's face, She says the right things.
Yeah.
It's about team. It's about coaching staff. It's about the growth of the game. And when I say team inside that, she does reference the former players and the current players and the great legends of the game. And then this morning I saw the Minnesota Lynx in August. They are, well, there's two games that Indiana's playing at Minnesota. In both games, they opened up the top level because they're going to sell it out, right? It's like Caitlin coming home. But on August 24th, they're going to dedicate Maya Moore's jersey into the rafters, and it'll be on an Indiana Fever game. How good of a
Wow.
storyline is that, right? Because
Well,
it's Caitlin's favorite player growing up. So
yeah.
people are starting to, when you start to put it together and you start thinking about it in advance, like that's what we need. We need more disruptors. Caitlin's the ultimate disruptor, but Angel's a disruptor in her way, and Camilla is a disruptor in her way. But yes, Caitlin is the driver, and Caitlin has handled all of it so well and shares it.
Yeah.
She shares it, which is
Yeah.
remarkable because, good Lord, that kid, listen, I'm not buying those kids anything. They're going to be buying me a cup of coffee.
I know, Deb. They'll be taking care of us down the years, right? I mean,
It's
goodness,
time.
they're making.
Come
Yeah,
on, bring it
you're
back.
right. And it's beautiful to see. You're right about the intentional thinking of the Minnesota Lynx, and we need more leadership like that. And I think now that there's more resources around women's basketball, we're going to see an influx of people who want to get involved in the game that think differently, right? Because though I love all of us who have been here, we deserve a seat at the table.
Yeah.
We need an influx of different types of talent and different types of thinking outside of sport to carry us to the next level, whether that's business or technology. Because I know, like you, Debbie, we've been taking a deep dive into basketball for a very long time, but the world has been going on around us. And that's the kind of innovation I think that we'll see coming into women's basketball now that the resources are there, the attention and the eyes are there, and we've got to be open to it, right? Like we're not gatekeepers. Yes. I know you're just like me. When I had a conversation with someone who I think is a brilliant mind earlier in this year, and she's now a part of the WNBA structure. And I said, why now? Why'd you come back to women's sports? And she said, I couldn't get paid the kind of money I needed to get paid to be in women's sports before, and now I can. And so to us, we're saying, you're a bandwagon, you're doing this for the money. But the truth is, that's a driving factor. Hey. And whatever the motivation may be, we need a diversity in thought to carry our sport to the next level.
And we need to be thinking about the color green, because the color green means money, and everyone is going to be stronger and more powerful through the lens of this class and what is happening in the W, and everyone's going to benefit from it. I don't see how anyone doesn't benefit from having the influx of talent that we have coming in, the attention around Caitlin and Angel and others, and how that's going to definitely, we've seen it move the meter, and that's what we needed, disruptors, somebody to change the flow, the way we think, exactly what we're talking about. That's why you and I will always be gatekeepers, LaChina, because we love that there's other people thinking about it, and we don't mind them coming into our game. We need them in our game, but we need them to work hard inside our game. As long as they're working hard inside our game. Because, that's the thing I always say to all your young kids, I'm like, make sure you work hard. You better work hard. Don't just show
important.
Up, right?
Yep. Very important, Deb.
Okay, so I want to ask you about charter flights. This has been something that's been on the list for a long time. And this is an example of forecasting economically where the game could go. If the W doesn't have the money right now or has some of it, they do see an opportunity to be able to make more money because of all the things that we're talking about. It feels like it's the right time. I mean, I'd like to applaud Kathy Engelbert for whoever the economist is in the office for thinking forward. But yes, the media rights deal should be bigger. Other things around the game, the attendance around the league, all of it's going up.
Yeah, obviously we all wish that this would have been something that happened previously, but I do understand Kathy's approach, which is, hey, we're going to make sure we're financially sound before this happens. I do have to say that some of the ownership, I feel like when you look at the ownership of various teams, not everyone has been willing to spend the dollars, right? So I think there's been a change in mindset as this growth of women's basketball is happening. Some of the ownership groups and leaderships within individual franchises are now saying, okay, we better get on board or get left, right? Because when you're looking at free agency, the way it's moving right now, if you're not an owner who's saying we will support and pay for charter flights, you're getting left in the dark, right? So I do think that's been somewhat of a change, but you're right. I mean, with the growth in popularity of the WNBA, now brands are saying, okay, so if we partner with the W on making this charter situation happen, and we can have our name next to WNBA on these charter flights, or we can have our name associated with this explosion of the sport by putting money into the charters, we win, right? So now it's more attractive because there's more of a return. There's more of a return on those dollars if you are making that investment and you are looking at the media rights deal coming up and saying, okay, I can see that there's going to be more money in this league. It's going to grow exponentially. And then think about expansion, Deb.
That's
If you are a brand that's making this charter flight thing happen, and there ends up being a team in Canada very soon, we already know there's one in the Bay. You're now in a brand new market. The WNBA is in a whole new market where there's opportunity for revenue. So going back to the green, it all makes sense to be happening now, but you have to definitely give so much credit to the women that have been knocking on this door for many years, without the recovery that they've needed, Deb, in long lines, non-TSA, not in first class, hoping they get an exit row seat. I'm happy for them.
Yeah, it's they had a reality check for sure, traveling the way us commoners travel for 36 years around college basketball, right? With
Right.
trying to get exactly what you said, but willing to pay for the club because the club is a great place to work. I will say that.
It is.
Does definitely have its benefits. All right, so LaChina, I want to ask you about some big storylines in the WNBA, and I want to get my pen and pencil ready because I know that you're going to have some things for me that are going to be helpful to me as I get ready to work in the you myself.
Debbie, you already know all the things. I mentioned the other day free agency, and to me, I'll get to the rookies obviously in a second, but to me, my eyes are on free agency every season because the teams are constantly changing. The star power is coming together. When you start with what Las Vegas has done, there is no way you can compete with the Aces, back-to-back champs, unless you have talent. And what we've seen in WNBA free agency since the last CBA negotiation is that players are on the move. Breanna Stewart, obviously, going to New York. Nneka Ogwumike this offseason going to Seattle. So the storylines for me in the new storylines always start with where are the players moving. So we start with Vegas, right? Their favorites. New York, who put their super team together last year. Seattle Storm with Skylar Diggins-Smith coming as a free agent from Phoenix. Nneka Ogwumike leaving LA after a long career there. Adding to Jewel Lloyd, adding to Ezi Magbegor. That is going to be a team to really watch and how they can shift the WNBA landscape. And keep this in mind, Deb. If they make it in, someone's going to be out, right? Because they weren't in last year. And I would add to this conversation of teams that will be in the playoffs this year versus last year, the Indiana Fever. I think the Fever have a great chance. They're right there on the cusp. And with the addition of Caitlin Clark, back-to-back #1 picks, they're going to be in. So that's pushing another team out. Follow me now.
Yeah, I'm following you.
And then, in the super team conversation, this is up for debate. I'm in Phoenix right now. Brittany Griner, Diana Taurasi, Kalia Copper, who was the finals MVP, Natasha Cloud, who was a very sought-after free agent in the offseason.
Love.
Lots of talent in Phoenix. So another team that did not make the playoffs last year. So, Deb, there's new players in new places. There's going to be more playoff teams that weren't in last year finding their way in. So I think that is the conversation to start with free agency and then new players and new teams in the playoffs. But then it's the rookies. I mean, everyone's attention is going to be on this rookie class, Deb, every night. Did you hear about the streaming of Chicago, Minnesota peaking at 2 million viewers? Like, are you kidding me? That is
amazing.
So, I can't say enough about the impact of this class and how every move they make, every game they play will be under the microscope, will be under the magnifying glass. And the teams that they play for are on the radar. Chicago Sky, you're on the clock. You look really good the other night against New York. Now, they're not a team I came in, even with the addition of Camilla and Angel, I didn't necessarily say tick them as a playoff team. But Teresa Weatherspoon is doing something really special there. How will Camilla and Angel impact the landscape? What will Caitlin Clark be able to do? I already mentioned I thought they have an opportunity to make the playoffs. What happens with Cameron Brink and Rakia Jackson in LA? Is that enough? Do they have the backcourt to go along with the front court? So storylines abound. Tina Charles is back in the league in Atlanta. That's a team I always keep my eyes on because that's where I live, Deb. In New York, there's a lot of pressure on that team to really show and prove what they can do. So big stars, big rookies, big free agency moves, so much to talk about.
It's so good. It's so exciting. I can tell you it's so great to be back with the Fever for me. I'm thrilled to have the opportunity to come back. It's just all good. Like the league has been solid. I've even, while I wasn't with the team, I was doing the betting shows, and I'm still trying to keep that going because I thought that was an area that we really didn't capture very well in the W. I pushed that hard internally and was able to get what was the Daily Wager Show, which turned into ESPN Bet. So as long as we keep a presence there and we keep pushing that part of it, because you know how I feel about the demo and the Vegas and all of that.
Yes.
I think that's a really important piece as well, especially when in our meetings yesterday, we were talking about the 18 to 35-year-old demo. That's an important demo, and that demo is big in the betting area. Not that I'm advocating betting, but I do think it's a great growth potential for the league.
Betting, gaming, right? The inclusion of WNBA and NBA 2K over the years, and then also fantasy women's basketball those are three drivers that I think we don't talk enough about, Deb.
Yeah, I love it, LaChina. Well, you know what? You've been wonderful to spend some time with us. I know you're in the midst of all your prep for the W, getting ready. I am so grateful for your time. I'm grateful for your support of me, my family, especially Frankie and the boys, Joey and Patrick. And we love seeing you have success. We love all the places that you show up. We feel as invested as you do in all the things that you're doing. And I just can't thank you enough for taking time again to be with us.
Debbie, anytime for you. I appreciate everything you've done for me in my career, the way you have mentored me along the way, and the way that you have just been excellent in our game. That's the thing. People don't remember. You can sit in that seat, but it doesn't mean you're excellent. You have been excellent in what you've done for our sport and growing the game. So thank you. It's great to have you back in W. And please give Frankie my best. I hope next time him and I can hit the Waffle House. Tell him I'm proud of him, and good luck with nothing but net. I'm a huge supporter, and I'm really excited about everything that you're doing.
Thank you so much, LaChina. You're one of the best. Grateful for your friendship and your time.
Thanks, Deb. Thanks, B-Mac.